And welcome, folks. 138 MMA here. And today we're going to go over the Road to UFC episode 1 and 2. I've watched the event, kind of did some notes live as the event was going on. I'm going to go over the first and the second episode individually. I'm going to rank everybody from each episode individually on the board on who I thought had the most impressive performance, things like that. Going to go over what I thought of the event, what I thought of each individual performer, and well, that one anyway, and maybe just a little bit of how it leads into their next fights. So we're going to cover all of those, but real quick, you can find me on Twitter and Tapology at 138MMA. You can find me on Patreon if you want access to all my notes and some other fun stuff throughout the weeks or whatever. Patreon.com/138MMA. You know where to find it. And if you're checking this out for the first time, hey, welcome to the channel. I'm sure glad you found this video. If you were just searching for Road to UFC stuff and you found me, I also do UFC fight prediction breakdowns, Bellator prediction breakdowns, Dana White's Contender Series, the works. There's a boat going on in the background. Just if you hear that, sorry about it. But anyway, let's not wasting more time. Let's go ahead and break down that first episode. Let's talk about kind of what we saw, our reaction to it, and who we thought was the top performers on that first episode. And then we'll go right into the second one after that. Let's dive right into episode 1 of the Road to UFC tournament. Now, I've written everyone down up on the board here. As you are familiar, if you've been around the channel for a while, my trusty marker board is here with me for it all. These guys, I've written them down in the most impressive win for me to the least impressive. Now, I'm going to explain why that is. So don't just look at this and just start typing your angry comments if you're a big fan of, say, Mark Climaco and you thought he did fantastic. I'm going to break this down on why I thought this, and then if you think I'm wrong after I've given you my explanation, then you can go ahead and type in the comments. And in fact, I appreciate it because it does help the algorithm, so thank you very much. Now, let's go ahead and break this down. So Mark Climaco, he fought a guy in Junghyun Lee. Junghyun Lee is an excellent striker, and he showed that in the matchup. In fact, even though Mark Climaco had the more strikes landed, I don't think he was the better striker. And I think the damage on each opponent's faces kind of showed that at the end of the matchup. And when it came to the judges' scorecards, I wasn't sure how they were going to score it, because are they going to say, well, Climaco's face looked pretty beat up where Lee didn't look so beat up? Or were they going to say, well, because Mark Climaco was able to mix in the wrestling, constantly be working for that takedown, and then also land a decent volume of strikes, was he going to be able to get the win? So I wasn't sure, because you never know with judges, like, what they're going to be favoring. It was a close fight. So I could see a judge giving it to Lee because of the damage and the striking. But Lee just spent way too much time defending takedowns to be able to mount his own offense in enough volume to match up with that of Climaco. Now, Climaco, constantly looking for the takedown. His strikes landed. Very few of them were to the face. A lot of them were leg and body kicks. He throws a lot of kicks. He's a very kick-heavy striker, but he's more looking for that wrestling, okay? And whenever he was able to get the fight to the mat, he was fighting a guy who had amazing scrambles and get-up ability. So for Lee, he was able to hop right back up most of the time. But Climaco was able to put the pressure on enough that Lee was not able to really get his offense going in more than a couple of short bursts. So Climaco was able to edge one out in a decision that, yeah, he looked pretty good. And I think against somebody that doesn't have that level of get-up ability, I think Climaco is going to look a whole lot better. So I wouldn't count him out from here on out. He was a big favorite, though, in that matchup, and it was a very close fight. But Lee is a very game opponent, so there's that, good fight. Next, let's move on to Sang-Won Kim. Now, Sang-Won Kim, he was fighting, let me get the name right, Kisuke Sasasu. Bear with me, I'm not super good on these names. I'm doing my best. So anyway, Sang-Won Kim, first round. The constant grappling pressure of Sasu was kind of a difficult issue for Kim. He wasn't able to create enough space to land a lot of shots. He'd throw a couple of single shots here and there, but Sasu was able to use his striking, which was also single shots, but to get in, look for the takedowns, use his grappling control, etc., to win the first round. I think it was pretty clear that Sasu won the first round, but in the second round, Kim made enough of the reads to know, okay, what do I need to do to land my shots? He wasn't getting overcommitted in the first round. He wasn't throwing a lot in combination because he didn't want to be putting himself in a bad situation. Well, Kim then in the second round said, okay, I think I've got this one here. Lands a beautiful two-punch combination and gets the win, puts Sasu out cold. His power is there, his striking is there, and he did have it. It showed that he has the ability to make the reads that he needs in the first round and come back if he needs to. He didn't just say, oh man, this guy's taking me down, I'm just going to have to survive the fight and just keep getting taken down like we see a lot of fighters do. So for Kim, very impressive finish, but the fight itself, he didn't dominate by any means. He looked good in the finish. Definitely has power to end a fight at any moment with shots like that. So for Kim, impressive finish, like I said. there were just some better ones on there. So let's go to Yi Zha. Now, Yi Zha, he was the runner-up last season. Now, if you remember him, very, very close fight in the finale. He needed a few things to work on just to kind of not make fights so close, and he showed it here. A first-round armbar submission. Now, but the one thing that really kind of stood out is he was the one that got taken down and finished the armbar off his back. So, obviously, if his grappling's that good, I mean, the takedown defense isn't that important because you want the fight on the mat. But for Yi Zha, we're going to need a little bit more to see more out of him in the next round, because it's hard to say if he's improved a drastic amount since the last tournament, or if he's simply, just working on getting the finishes off his back, or like where are we at with Yi Zha? The fight didn't go that long. He was taken down, worked quick to get the armbar. That's all we really had. So the finish was impressive. I think it was a little bit more impressive than Kim's because he didn't take any, he didn't lose a round first. So that's why I moved him up to here. But Yi Zha looked really good off his back. His grappling is there. We kind of knew that from last season, but Yi Zha looked good. Let's give him that. Here was the clear standout of the night. Ray Saruya, he looked fantastic. Excellent grappling. That pressure was fantastic. Looking for the takedowns, chains them together. Really low takedown shot when he gets down and get down to clear down your ankles to work that shot if he needs to. Has throws from the clinch against the cage, whatever. The thing that really won me over, lands in scarfold, which is my favorite position. If you've been around the channel a while, I've mentioned it. Scarfold's my favorite position to have. Not only did the commentators, the ring announcer get it wrong when he announced it that it was a Kimura. It was definitely an armbar from the scarfold because it was a straight armbar. What he did, I can't show you because you can't see my legs. What he did is he landed in scarfold, and on his leg that was on the mat, he brought his opponent's arm over his leg and locked it down with his ankle region to give a straight armbar like this, with the fulcrum being here under the elbow. That is a straight armbar from the scarfold. Ring announcer didn't get it right. That's okay. They don't know. They're just there to announce whatever they're given on the cards. But Ray Saruya looked fantastic. Awesome grappling. I think he's going to be a big problem for anybody he's fighting in the next round. So Ray Saruya won the first episode for me. That's my opinion. Let me know what you ranked on just the first episode. The second episode's coming up in a second. But just on the first episode, let me know how you ranked these guys. Let me know who you thought was the most impressive. And, well, let's go ahead and get into episode 2, shall we? Come on to the second episode of the day. And we've got our 4 combatants here that won their matchups. I'm going to go ahead and break these down just like I did for episode 1. For the most to least, let's put it that way, for impressive wins. Now, for Koyo Kanda, I think Kanda. Let's go with Kanda. He looked pretty good. He was an aggressive fighter, did well with his straight shots, nice long straight punches. But the problem is his striking defense was laxed, and he even got busted open in the matchup. He was able to get countered quite a bit, but he did look good when he was on offense. It's just the defense that was kind of lacking for Kanda. So, although a good win over a tough opponent who was looking to counter-strike, threw some heavy shots, I have to put him at the lowest because he did absorb the most damage in the win. Next up, we have Sunguk Choi, who, yes, he was the better striker in the matchup, but he was taken down a whole slew of times by Sumit Kumar, who clearly has a ton of aggressive pressure, and it is an absolute freak athlete. But Sumit Kumar, at times, had Sunguk Choi just straight up running away. There was, I think, twice in the matchup where Choi just turns and jogs off, trying to get away from Kumar. Now, I think that more stands to the pressure of Kumar rather than the lack from Choi. But Choi was able to land the better shots. He had the more crisp, clean striking, and he was able to get back to his feet when he was taken down, ultimately getting him the win. It was a clear 29-28, but he definitely lost the first round because he spent most of the round just being taken down, rinse and repeat. But after he figured that out, he was a little bit better at getting the strikes off when he had the openings. So Sunguk Choi edges out Kanda for the lack of damage that he took, but these two are pretty close in their victories, I would say. Both guys, I believe, got a 29-28. I think one judge had a 30-27 for Kanda, but it was kind of weird. So next, we have a name that I'm going to struggle with, so bear with me. It's Jinny Yushiu? I think it's how you say that. Anyway, he basically comes out, his opponent comes out, who's normally a strawweight, so it was a little tougher for his opponent to be kind of able to muscle his way through, but he comes out aggressive and is taken down. Now, Jinny Yushiu on the top, he starts fighting off some submissions. I believe his opponent was looking for, Billy, Pasulatan? I don't know. I'm struggling with the names, guys. Bear with me. But for Billy, his opponent, Billy was able to try to look for a buggy choke. Didn't quite get it locked up. He tried to fish for a few other submissions off his back. But ultimately, he was not able to do so. At some point in there, after weathering the submissions, Jin Yushiu was able to kind of get a more dominant position, get on the back, and just start landing some strikes, flatten out Billy, and just work his hands from the top position, ground and pound, get the TKO. He looked pretty good in that. Like I said, he showed that he could weather the storm, avoid the submissions while on top. So good submission defense. Looked pretty good. Ultimately, all three of these guys showed weaknesses and strengths in their matchup, which is something that you kind of sometimes want to see because you want to know what you're going to expect in the next matchups. But Jin Yushiu did get the finish, and he did look impressive in doing so once he was able to flatten his opponent out and just start landing that ground and pound. Now, lastly, we have Lee Kai-Wen, who looked the best out of everybody on episode 2. Came forward, aggressive pressure, just throwing volume and enough power to drop his opponent. Looked pretty gosh darn good in that matchup. Apparently there was some bad blood, according to the announcers, between the two. I don't know. But all I know is that Lee Kai-Wen just came in, threw bombs, and got the finish early. Looked very good in doing so. So ultimately, he was the most impressive on the second episode of today's tournament's first round or whatever. Realistically, though, number 1, Rei Tsuruya. That dude from episode 1, I know we already covered that in the last one. He was my standout of the day. I think he did the best so far for episode 1 and 2. That's where I'm at so far. Let me know what you guys have. I'd love to see your second day or your second episode rankings, as well as your first episode rankings. And hey, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and hit that like button for me. I do appreciate it very, very much. And if you'd like to see my full card preview and predictions breakdowns of Dana White's Contender Series, UFC, and Bellator, subscribe to the channel because that's where you'll find it. So anyway, I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget to drop those comments. I'd love to see who you guys thought was the most impressive. And tomorrow, I'll be out with episodes 3 and 4 for day 2 of the first round of the Road to UFC tournament. We'll see you there.